Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Good morning, everybody.
And after 5+ months working on True Noir, Robert Meyer Burnett is in the house with us today.
This is wild, man. Wow.
Been a bit. Good to have you. Now, for those of you who follow the show, of course, we've talked about this, but in case you missed it, Rob's been working on this huge undertaking.
It's been huge.
True Noir, which we've mentioned on the show a number of times with Michael and David, and you got Lex Luthor.
We got Lex Luthor. By the way, I don't think I've ever had a better professional experience with an actor, a celebrity, as Michael Rosenbaum playing. First of all, consummate professional. It's the proof's in the pudding. He's so good, but he's also just a really great dude. I watch his Inside of You podcast all the time.
Yeah, which we've talked a lot about on our show. His podcast is awesome.
It's phenomenal, but he has such empathy, and as an actor, he does not compromise. He doesn't phone it in. The guy's amazing. He's just an amazing.
Well, and you've got Academy Award nominated David
Strathairn.
See, I remember we were talking on the phone, and you were mentioning David Strathairn, and it's like, I haven't told you this. My whole life, I've always called him David Strathairn, but it's Strathairn.
Strathairn, yeah.
I've always mispronounced his name. So you got an Academy Award nominee.
Katie Sackhoff.
Well, most importantly, Chris Carr.
And by the way, her episode dropped last week. She's in episode 4. She's incredible. Again, she worked on this character. She brought it. You know how much fun we used to have. I'd make her do voices, do a voice, so now I was actually paying her in a SAG situation. She's fantastic. Everybody's fantastic.
Well, listen, there's going to be a lot to talk about True Noir. Fingers crossed, hopefully in the future. But for now, we got a bunch of things we need to talk to you guys about. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics that we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. The way you get a comment or question or topic read on the show is simply by using our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And here's the good news. The tip link is good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even if you're listening to us on our podcast feed, say on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or maybe you're watching this show a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question or topic, and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode, provided we deem your topic or question appropriate to be addressed on our show. All right, guys. With that all down, let's get things started here, and we're going to start with this. It's good to be Disney. It's rarely not true, but right now it's particularly true. In an age when, the box office is still trying to recover from, not just still in post-pandemic kind of recovery. The strikes just killed a lot of stuff. But it turns out that now 2024 had not one, not two, but $3 billion films. And when you know it, all of them are Disney films. The newest one to join it is Moana 2. Variety is now reporting it's official. Moana 2, once destined to just get dumped on Disney Plus, got put into theaters, of course, instead by Bob Iger, and has now crossed the $1 billion mark. They write the following: Moana 2, originally conceived as a television show for streaming, is officially a $1 billion box office smash. The animated sequel has generated $445 million domestically and $567 million, that's a nice balance, internationally, bringing its grand total up to $1.009 billion. As of today, it's actually $1.01 billion, but whatever. Globally, after 8 weekends of release, Moana 2 is Disney's third 2024 release to join the $1 billion club, following Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine, capping off a stellar 12 months for the film studio. None of its rivals fielded a single $1 billion release in 2024, though Universal got damn close with Despicable Me 4 that made $969 million. All right. There's a couple different ways of approaching it. First of all, congratulations to Moana and the folks over there at Disney. Their third $1 billion film, Moana 2, far surpassing what the first one made. Not a huge surprise, because what we talked about a lot is that, what the number one streamed movie in the world was last year? Moana. No new releases. No, Moana, the original, was the number one streamed movie. So that kind of pointed to the fact that this is probably going to be big, this movie. And it certainly did. Other thing, again, hey guys, studios, maybe you want to think twice about just dumping one of those movies of yours onto your streaming service. Not that Roadhouse was going to be $1 billion film. I'm not suggesting that, but maybe, just maybe. And the third part here, Rob, is that they're all Disney films. And it's not a coincidence that all three of them, and three, different kinds of films. And by the way, the funny thing is, I don't know if you got around to seeing Moana 2. I don't think it's nearly as good as the first one.
No.
I still enjoyed it. I still liked it, but I couldn't hum one bar of one song from this new movie.
I'm right there with you.
But I mean, the popularity of the character, no doubt about it. Moana 2 makes $1 billion. What you see this? What are the things you take away?
Well, the first thing I think of is that we've talked about this on the show when I was not in the last 6 months, but we talk about the fact that, look, putting a movie in theaters gives it immediate value that you don't get on streaming. Things go into streaming, they just disappear down the streaming rabbit hole. They don't have any pop culture presence, really. I mean, Roadhouse did for a couple of weeks and then it disappeared. But you put something in the theater and it has cachet. People go out to the theater to see it. $1 billion that's a huge vote of confidence on the part of the audiences. And then once a movie makes $1 billion, when it comes on to a streaming service, it has that much more value. People are that much more excited. And we had other movies, I think, over at 20th Century Studios, which is a subsidiary, of course, of Disney. Alien Romulus was going to be
that was going to be just like Prey was. It was going to be a direct to a Hulu sort of thing.
And now they know Prey was direct to Hulu. Now they know the new Predator movies are going to go theatrical. Romulus did very well. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I think that was always going to be theatrical, but still, quietly, 20th Century Studios has been having a great year as well. Not billion-dollar movies, but they're putting out theatrical films that are making money. Alien Romulus was only $80 million, and it made. I
couldn't believe how cheaply they made that movie for.
And it made like $400 million worldwide. And you'd think the other studios would follow suit, but although Warner Brothers they've moved things like Evil Dead Rise was going to be a streaming film, and
even Netflix now. Sarandos has confirmed that the Greta Gerwig's new Narnia film is indeed going to get an exclusive 2-week,
right,
but theatrical run in IMAX screens globally. So even they're starting to maybe recognize this a little bit.
100%. And look, it's good for the business all the way around. This kind of box office return it keeps people working. It keeps people excited. There's no downside to this. Let's see if they can do it with Star Wars.
What do you think about, does it say anything at all? Does it say anything at all, speaking of Star Wars, that 3 films managed to make the $1 billion mark and every single one of them was Disney? I mean, does that say anything about where there are, because Disney went through a bit of a thing as well, but I mean, are they clearly fully back at this point? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think, because Bob Iger, when he came back, he said, look, we have to make the movies that people want to see. And I think this is, I mean, Moana was something that, again, I'm sure he mandated that this is going to be a theatrical film. I don't know the exact ins and outs of all that, but I do think that having Bob Iger make these proclamations and getting behind them and saying, yeah, let's go theatrical. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm curious to see, not getting into the behind the scenes machinations of it, but we'll see. I'm curious to see where Captain America Brave New World's going to wind up. Obviously the movie has to be good. I mean, I want that movie to be good.
I hope so.
I really do. I don't necessarily think it's going to be what I want. It's going to be no Winter Soldier, but I want it to be good. I want to be excited about Marvel. I'm excited about Fantastic Four.
Yeah. And listen, when you look at things like Deadpool and Wolverine, crush it for them. Agatha did far better for them than they were expecting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of excitement surrounding Fantastic Four. There is way more excitement than I thought there would have been initially, including for me, for Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
That's actually the Marvel film I'm most excited about.
Well, it looks fun. I love the cast.
But like you said, they gotta kill. It doesn't need to be, Cap 4 doesn't need to be as good as Winter Soldier or anything like that, right? But it's got to be good.
It's got to be good.
Just to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and I want look, it looks like it's Marvel Universe centric. There's a lot of, and I hope that it reinstills, because Deadpool and Wolverine was kind of outside of the main MCU, but this is right back in there, and I want to be excited. I want to believe.
Essentially, Deadpool and Wolverine was a farewell to the Fox universe.
Yes.
Yeah. And anyway, and a beautiful one at that. They did a great job. But anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Moana, I mean, we knew it was coming, but Moana has now finally officially joined the $1 billion club, making 3 2024 films $1 billion club members, and all of them were Disney films.
Crazy.
What are your takeaways from that? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, another one of the Disney 2024 films, because it came out in 2024, was Mufasa, the follow-up to the Lion King film. Now, immediately when they announced it, I said, this isn't going to be $1 billion film. There's no way, because, you know, the reaction, even though the first one was, the reaction to it was mixed, all that kind of stuff. And then Mufasa opened, I believe it opened head-to-head against Sonic 3. And Sonic 3 had the bigger opening.
Yeah.
By quite a margin, actually. Mufasa had like a $35 million opening. Not terrible by most films' standards, but for a $200 million film, it didn't look good for Mufasa, right? But then something funny happened. A couple of weeks ago, it's like, wait a minute, Mufasa's #1 at the box office now. Mufasa's past Sonic.
It's the greatest showman.
It's kind of, well, not that extreme, but kind of, right? By the way, Ann and I watched like 8 Greatest Showman videos last night. We got totally hooked on Greatest Showman stuff. Anyway, so Mufasa has very quietly, very, under the radar, gone on to become something of a hit. This week, it's going to cross $600 million. As the headline here, Mufasa becomes only the 10th movie to reach a box office, which was making $200 million domestically. Only 10 films in 2024 did it. But it's about to cross $600 million here shortly, which is insane. When we go over and take a look at Mufasa's numbers, look at this. It's now, as of today, it's at basically $592 million. Opening again to $35 million. It's about to cross 600 million. And when you then compare that to the movie that opened much larger than it did, look, it had a $60 million opening. Sonic is sitting at 422, which is good for a Sonic movie.
Really good.
Yeah, they've done well for a Sonic movie. Again, Rob, like the last 6 months, the number of people who've called me an idiot and not knowing a thing because I told people that Sonic 3 was not going to be $1 billion film.
No.
Was insane.
Its audience is essentially baked in.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't have the audience. It has a specific audience. It doesn't have a 4-quadrant audience. You're not going to get adults flocking to Sonic.
Now, by the way, for the record, I thought Sonic 3 was better than Mufasa. I didn't love Mufasa, to be honest with you. It's okay. But again, kind of like Moana 2, can't hum a single tune of any of the music in it.
Right.
It really shouldn't have been a musical. I thought Sonic was definitely the better film. But again, opened to 35 million. It stayed in there. Some estimates, by the way, say it was #1 at the box office again this weekend. Some are saying it was like $100,000 below another film. But
and it's a 4-day weekend because it's considered.
Right.
And it's a long weekend. And it's still chugging along, still making money. It's going to cross $600 million, which officially makes it profitable. What is it about Mufasa that it has just been able to hang in there and keep bringing in audiences, even though it's not that good?
But you know what? It's not bad either.
No, it's
And
not bad.
I think if you like the Lion King universe, and Barry Jenkins did bring something to that film. I mean, he's a terrific director.
I love Barry Jenkins. Yeah.
And I love the way this movie kind of looked. I finally went and saw this actually in a theater just because I was curious when the uptick of the box office started to happen. And like, look, is it as classic as Lion King? No, but it's a respectable sequel. It's better than, say, Jaws 2. And I like Jaws 2. I'm a Jaws 2 fan.
I like Jaws 2. I more laugh at Jaws 3. Jaws 3, that's the one I really start laughing.
But
Open wide.
but it's I thought it was good. And I think if, kids love The Lion King, their parents love The Lion King. And I think it delivered on what it promised. It was funny because I had a lot of people going, this movie's going to tank. And I was like, I don't think it is.
No, I knew it wasn't going to tank. I said
think
it's
you're
not going to make $1 billion, but there's no way this movie was going to tank.
No. And I like slow and steady wins the race. When I say it was like Greatest Showman, it had playability. It's playing, Greatest Showman started slow and then it caught on and people kept going back and that's what's happening with Mufasa. And again, it's a good thing for everybody that the movie's a hit. There's no downside to this movie. I mean, it's weird seeing all this hatred toward Disney as a company. If they're making entertaining movies, isn't that a good thing?
That audiences like to go to see.
That audiences want to go see. It's good for the business. It's good for theatrical. It's good for the people that are working on the films. It's good all the way around.
You know, it kind of reminds me of another Disney film. Remember Elemental in 2023?
Mm-hmm.
Elemental came out, made under $30 million its opening weekend, and it made like 497, basically made $500 million.
Yes.
It just kind of
Slow and
quietly
steady.
had those legs, and they just kept, and then suddenly it was a hit.
And you know, we saw a clip, that 15-minute clip at CinemaCon of Elemental.
Yes.
And I loved it. I was like,
I loved it.
I thought it was great. And and we were saying that this movie's going to be great, and then it started slow, and then I was happy to see it.
Yeah, word got out, and there you go. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, if you're going, wait, what? I don't blame you. Mufasa just has quietly continued to make big money, and it's about to cross the $600 million mark after starting really slow and maybe looking like it might barely go over 300 million, and ended up far exceeding what I think is the better film in Sonic 3. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, it's becoming slowly but surely a normal thing as a part of the movie life process. A new movie's coming out, it's got to have a collectible popcorn bucket. Of course, it wasn't the first one to do it, but the first one that really got all of our attention was Dune 2, with the damn fleshlight sandworm thing.
I still use mine.
It's surprisingly durable. It holds up to the most rigorous of testing. Yeah, so that one came out.
Oh, no.
I refer to them as testes.
That's it, I'm out.
Testes, 1, 2, 3.
And then, of course, the Deadpool Wolverine ones were great. Alien Romulus had good ones.
That was awesome.
Yeah, the Alien Romulus was good. So we're starting now to expect the collectible popcorn buckets, right? Well, of course, Captain America 4 is coming out in a few weeks. And we've got now both Regal and AMC have revealed their unique popcorn buckets. For example, Regal is going to have two of them. The one is going to be the wings behind the shield that kind of hold popcorn. And the second one is a Hulk one, where I guess the back of the Hulk becomes the popcorn bucket. On top of that, they also have these collectible soda drink toppers, one with Red Hulk and one with, I keep wanting to say Falcon, but it's now Cap on the other one. And on top of that, they're also going to be selling Funko Pops of Red Hulk and Falcon. I like these. I think these are great.
They're cool.
But AMC has one, and I really like the concept of it.
Yeah.
It's the shield becomes the base, and it's kind of flat, and then the popcorn bucket actually extends out of the back, so you can flatten it down.
Okay,
yeah, telescopes.
Really,
that's the right word for it.
That's really cool.
So it starts more flat and then expands out. Now, listen, I actually, at first I thought the popcorn bucket thing was a fun little idea, right? But the more I think about it, you know, it used to be in the days of paper tickets. A lot of people would collect tickets of all the movies they go for.
I still have all of mine.
If you really want to have, it takes more physical space, but the unique collectible popcorn buckets of all these movies. Now that's an expensive habit because I think these run for like 30, 40, 50 bucks sometimes. Yeah. But I mean, I could see a lot of people becoming hardcore collectors of these things if they look fun. As ridiculous as it was, the Dune one was really fun. The Deadpool and Wolverine one was great. The Alien Romulus one was great. I think this one is pretty fun. I like these.
Yeah.
And it's becoming a bigger part of the movie-going experience. Rob, good thing or bad thing that these are kind of proliferating in front of our eyes?
Anything that brings excitement to the theatrical experience. These are only things you can get in the theater or on eBay. But you go to the theater, it's, again, people get excited. If the movie is worthy of a popcorn bucket, it means it's an event picture.
Yeah,
and anything that's going to bring that excitement back to the look, man, I love seeing people's faces when they come in. I was at my the Mountain Grove cinema. I forget what I was seeing, but there was a bunch of people lined up just to get popcorn buckets.
Right.
You know, both guys and girls, you know, parents, and everyone's excited. Like, they're excited to be in the theater. And I know it's popcorn bucket, it's not the movie itself, but they're going to see the movie too. Yeah. You know, and they're reusable.
It's funny because when Ann and I've told this story, but when Ann and I went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine, we got tickets for the very first screening. It was at like 3 p.m. And we got there about an hour early and went up to the concession stand and said, by the way, I'd like to get one of the popcorn buckets. Now, they still had the severed Deadpool head with the beanie on top. They still had that one. I've got that one out in my living room. But I'm like, oh, I'd like one of the Wolverine popcorn bucket. And he said, sorry, man, it's sold out. I'm like, sold out? I'm like, it's an hour before the thing. He goes, when we came to unlock the doors at 9 a.m. this morning, there were 200 people in line out the door. I'm like, for the popcorn buckets. So, I mean, there's clearly a lot of people taking these things pretty seriously. And hey, listen, and if you can find new ways to make money while giving something to the audience and it's fun and it generates revenue, more power to you. I think it's great.
Plus, if you're an X-Men fan or a Wolverine fan, the popcorn bucket itself becomes something that you can put in your display
Absolutely.
case with Hot Toys figures or whatever.
And some of them are good enough to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about the new Cap 4 popcorn bucket? I think they're good. I think the Hulk one might be really good. I just worry about how much popcorn you can actually get in it.
Yeah.
But I like the AMC one a little bit better with the telescoping bucket. Whatever you guys think about them, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, listen, we still have a number of things to talk about here, including we're going to play a little game of what's more likely. Also, there are reports going around that Hugh Jackman is going to play Wolverine for the next 10 years. There's some controversy going on around the upcoming Oscar favorite, The Brutalist, for using AI. And Supergirl, it's official, is going to be in the Superman movie, but it brings up a question a lot of people are asking. Does that movie have too many characters? We're going to talk about those things and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at PrizePicks. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. Are you guys like me, both a movie and a sports fan? Well, if so, then you know that the playoffs are here and it's now or never. If you love football and want to add some real excitement to the games, let me tell you about PrizePicks, the best place for your daily fantasy sports. So here's how it works. It's super simple. You just pick more or less on player projections. Think Patrick Mahomes will throw more than 1.5 touchdowns this week, or maybe Lamar Jackson will get over 250 passing yards. Make your picks in less than a minute and take your shot at winning up to 1,000 times your cash. Ann and I have been having a blast using PrizePicks every weekend. It's simple, it's fun, and it just makes watching the games that much more exciting. Plus, PrizePicks puts you first. With easy, fast, secure withdrawals, you can get your winnings in as little as 15 minutes, and they make deposits even easier. And right now, if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So don't wait. Download the app today and use the code CAMPEA to get $50 instantly after playing your first $5 lineup. That's right, play for just $5 and you get a $50 bonus instantly. PrizePicks, run your game. And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. By the way, the tornado's at it again. Tor in our live chat there, one of our members has just gifted 10 John Campea memberships out. Tor is back. Thank you for that, Tor. Appreciate that very much, man. All right. With that down, guys, let's get into our next topic here, shall we? And that is this. Tilly's 90. Ever since the big hit of Deadpool and Wolverine came out, a lot of people have speculated, understandably, that Hugh Jackman, forget casting a new Wolverine. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and Hugh Jackman is going to stay and continue to be Wolverine. And according to a new rumor that's going around, and I have to emphasize the word rumor.
I love rumors.
But the reason we're bringing it up is because a number of the more significant outlets, not Hollywood Reporter or Variety, but a number of the other outlets a lot of us fans like to go to, like comicbookmovie.com, are running with it. Saying rumor, Hugh Jackman, according to this new rumor, is saying that he's committed to staying on in the MCU as Wolverine for at least another decade. For at least another 10 years. Now, I need to remind everybody, let everybody know, this rumor is originating from a iffy Twitter source. That's gotten some things right, gotten a number of things wrong, but says a lot of things. So I just want to put that in context. The whole reason we're even talking about, though, is because some of the larger places are running with this. So let's address this. Do we believe that Hugh Jackman is going to play Wolverine? Maybe not until he's 90, but until he's 66 years old. Hugh Jackman right now is 56. So, take that out. 66-year-old Hugh Jackman. He will not look like that at 66.
No.
He won't even look like that.
No, he won't even necessarily. Maybe put a cane in one of the things. But now, look, Hugh Jackman is in phenomenal physical condition. Don't misinterpret me. But could there be a reality? Well, look, the reason I've said, Rob, that I don't think people are insane if they believe that Hugh Jackman was going to continue on being Wolverine is because, well, look, he just did it. People loved him in it. He clearly, when you follow him on social media, he clearly had a great time. Like, he was posting every day, right? He was clearly had a ball doing it. And hey, it's the biggest film of his illustrious career, $1.3 billion. He ain't going to have a bigger one. So this is the biggest film of his career. And, I mean, I don't want to speak on personal terms, but it probably felt pretty good having such a big win like that in life. After he went through a very public divorce and all that kind of stuff. They even made a joke about it in the movie, which I thought was very classy of everybody all the way around. I have never believed that Hugh Jackman is going to be back. I really think, that first of all, he talked about the fact that they did finally come up with a pitch that brought him back one more time, right? One more time. So he came back after Logan. A lot of people were kind of nervous because Logan was such a great period on the end of that story, but they made this work. He's talked so much about it gets harder as he gets older to do the type of workout regimen that he has to go through to stay in that shape. And he does not enjoy it. He's been very clear about that. He doesn't enjoy it at all. And the older he gets, the harder he's going to have to work. But I also think this, Rob, while people say the whole line in the movie about till you're 90 is like an indication that he'll be back, I think the definitive thing, and this is just me speculating, that scene near the end of the movie where Deadpool and Wolverine are sitting on the bench and Deadpool gets up to go and Deadpool says, "So I'll see you around." And Wolverine looks back at him and says, "Probably not." And I think that was kind of his statement to the audience that he's done. And listen, I think it's time. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is right up there forever with Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. I mean, that's rare company. He's the best. Would I get in line tomorrow to see him playing Wolverine again? Absolutely. But it's time. It's a new era, a new MCU, new X-Men. It's time to get the new Wolverine who can play the Wolverine for 25 years, just like Hugh did. So I personally, while it is possible, I personally don't put any stock in this rumor at all. I do not think he's going to be back still. Rob, is it possible he could play Wolverine for 10 more years? Is it possible he could even come back one or two more times? Or do you think, like I do, that he is done? I don't know. How do you see this?
Okay, my initial answer to this would be like, no, he's done. He's not going to come back at all. Then I would say, they talk about in this trilogy or something, I have a So-So Toys, an unlicensed 12-inch figure of Old Man Logan, Old Man Wolverine from the comics. And he's got a shotgun. He's got a Hulkling in a backpack on his back. And he's got, they gave him Hugh Jackman's face. With the multiverse, whatever, when he says, I don't think so, you could have Hugh Jackman's Wolverine go off into its own, the universe that he goes into is cut off. There's no way it can ever be part of the MCU again. For whatever reason, the TVA closes it. And they have like a trilogy of movies, like some old samurai movie. And you could do an Old Man Wolverine trilogy where he doesn't necessarily, because he's going to wear a duster. You know, he's going to wear a lot of clothes. You're not going to see him but he's got and I could see them coming up with a great story where he would do that, but it would have to be like, you know, the lone samurai, more like a Logan kind of a movie.
Yep.
But if it was you know how we went into the void Well, where if you went into a pocket universe or something?
Which is what Old Man Logan was.
Yeah,
kind of,
yes, and something like that had a story. It'd have to be great. It'd have to be if it's going to be a trilogy, because it says in the rumor trilogy with a beginning, a middle, and an end, kind of like Mad Max. You know, it's a Mad Max trilogy, and if it's really well written, I could see that happening. They could make it work, because when you've made $1 billion, as long as you don't do Folle et Deux, you know, as long as you don't have that, Wolverine Folle et Deux would not be good. But if you had something like Old Man, like, there you go. Look, there it is. That's the movie that they would make. Now, it would have to be not as good as, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be as good as Logan. But
That's almost impossible.
It's almost impossible, but it would have to be at least aspiring to be that good. But that's a lot of ifs, John.
I mean, I guess another one of the options, I mean, there's the one option of like standalone, separate Old Man Logan sort of trilogy. Could do it. Other than the cartoon thing, Feige has seemed resistant to doing what if Elseworld kind of stuff. But the other one that is the most obvious, see, here's the thing. I don't think he's going to be back, period.
Neither do I.
But I think if there's a thin part of the wall that could break through, there's an argument for Doomsday and Secret Wars, right? I mean, there's an argument for that he comes in as a part of the huge ensemble, like with them pulling. I mean, there are people who think that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman.
And that would be 2 movies. So the rumor in terms of a trilogy.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much he'd be featured in that. I suppose I still don't think. What do you think the chances are that we see Hugh Jackman pop up in either a Doomsday or a Secret Wars?
I think there's a chance. And you know what I would really like to see? To be honest, if they're going to finally delve into the X-Men universe, it would be really interesting to see the new Wolverine, whoever that is, and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine literally pass the torch on screen. Like if there's some
in a dark cave, here, take this. Yeah. It was literally a passing of the torch.
Yeah, like whatever it was. Like maybe they fought side by side. I mean, I don't know.
Technically, in the comics, they did do that, and he did go into a cave. And he said, "You know how to kill me."
Right.
So, and then you don't see that. And then the younger Wolverine walks out of the cave.
Yeah, yes, and there's X-23. So there's a lot of stuff that they could do. I mean, look, Deadpool and Wolverine proved Hugh Jackman's viability even today. Yeah. People love the character. People would love to see him. And he'd make $1 billion. It would be kind of, you can't leave that money on the table when you can just go make some more.
You know what though?
And you make him old. He doesn't have to be. I don't think he would want to spend the rest of his years in that.
Well,
workout.
I mean, hey, but to your point, and I know I'm arguing against myself here, but still, to your point, Ryan Reynolds got himself in ridiculously good shape for Deadpool and Wolverine. How many times did you see him sleeveless? I think there's one scene. 99% of that movie, he's fully clothed. Like he doesn't when they're holding on to the antimatter thing, his shirt doesn't explode off of him like it does with, to the sounds of Like a Prayer. So maybe you could do that with Wolverine and Hugh Jackman moving forward, but just pad the suit a little bit. And
yeah. I mean, and again, he's Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven.
Yeah.
He's wearing that long duster, I mean, it could work. And the thing is, he's so great in the role.
He's defined it, hasn't he? Like he's literally, because he's played it since, when did the first X-Men movie come out? 99? 2000. He has literally defined the character for 2.5 decades. He has been the template. Rob, there are people out there who only understanding of the Wolverine character is Hugh Jackman. There's never been another Wolverine since Hugh Jackman. This X-Men 97 thing was a brand new thing to an entire generation of people, right? So, I mean, it's going to be hard to break out of that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Rumors going around that Hugh Jackman is committed to playing Wolverine for another 10 years. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, to me, I don't buy it at all. I think he's done. Although maybe popping up in a Secret Wars Endgame, maybe a standalone Elseworlds kind of Old Man Logan. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down, let's move on to this, shall we? Oscar nominations are coming out soon. And a name you're going to hear a lot when the nominations are mentioned is the movie The Brutalist, including it's going to get a Best Picture nomination. Some people even think it's one of the front runners to win. Anyway, there's now a little bit of a controversy going on surrounding The Brutalist over the use of AI. Variety is actually just their new headline is The Brutalist sparks backlash after one of the editors on the film reveals use of AI in dialogue and buildings, but says, quote unquote, it's nothing that hasn't been done before. This is what they write. In an interview with tech magazine Red Shark News, editor David Yansko, I hope I'm saying that right, I'm probably not, revealed that AI tools from Respeecher, a Ukrainian software company, had been deployed in order to improve the authenticity of the Hungarian dialogue of stars Adrian Brody and Felicity Jones. They also talk about how they used AI, generative AI, to create like some backgrounds to make some of the architecture look more accurate and all that kind of stuff. Well, this has sparked a controversy among some people saying this should disqualify The Brutalist from the Academy Awards, that it's just horrible and terrible that they're using it and all that kind of stuff. So I read all this and it got me thinking, is it that big of a deal? I mean, think about it in this way. I'm not talking about AI being used to take away people's jobs or anything like that. I'm talking about there is a piece of technology out that filmmakers are able to utilize as a tool to help them tell a story. This is something that happens every 5 years or so. Let me ask this question. Would an older school filmmaker look at somebody, the people who made Superman with Christopher Reeve, and you look at all the things they had to do to make you believe a man could fly? If they were to look in the future and see somebody goes, oh, we're just going to go into a computer and we'll CGI a guy flying sky. Like, how would that filmmaker say that's cheating? Today, we don't say that. We say CGI is just another tool that everybody uses. So whether they're doing matte paintings or whatever to shape things in the background, like, to me, at the end of the day, it's about telling a story. As technology advances, new technology becomes available to storytellers, whether it's, hey, Rob, I remember the big outrage when people started to use digital cameras instead of film cameras. Saying that's not real movie making. Well, today, 99% of movies get made with digital cameras. It's just another tool. So to me, Rob, it's kind of much ado about nothing. The one thing that does make me wonder a little bit, though, is the AI speech changer. Not that it's wrong for a movie to use it, but I wonder if that could or should affect Adrian Brody and Felicity Jones' qualifications for a Best Actor or Actress nomination when it's actually not your performance that we're hearing. Again, I'm not saying it should disqualify them. I'm just saying it raises an interesting question, because in that specific thing, when we're talking about an actor's performance, if AI specifically changed their performance in some substantive way, does that become a legitimate question about should that be qualified or not for Best Actor? Not for the movie as a whole, but I know, Rob, it's a really interesting question I think is going to come up more and more in the next year or two. What do you think about the story about The Brutalist?
Well, okay, here's the thing. There's a lot of different things I'm thinking at the time. But here's they're talking about, for instance, changing the accents that they were to make them more authentic.
Make them sound more like they are.
Yeah. So if you're speaking with a British accent or something like this, and you want me to sound more Manchester.
People didn't know we just used a plug-in for Rob to sound like that.
But Adrian Brody's still delivering the performance. You're still seeing it in his face, and he's trying hard. But if you use AI, again, it's a tool to tweak the way his accent sounded. I don't think you still are using him as the base of what's happening. Just like when you use motion capture, like Thanos is a great character. It's still, you still had Brolin playing Thanos, and it was clearly him. And the performance, it was clearly him playing it, but obviously there's other animators and people doing it. So I think in the case, and it didn't take anyone's job away. If anything, you're having somebody who knows how to use AI to duplicate that voice or whatever, somebody, whether it's prompts or whether they know how to, there's still no one's having their job taken away.
Right.
When it comes to putting in buildings in the background, I would ask, well, perhaps a special effects artist isn't, they're putting buildings in the background, not using an effects artist. Somebody probably had to figure out a way to insert them. So there was somebody there working. So no jobs were being lost. But they're not creating a performance. They're not asking AI to create a performance from scratch.
Right.
It's not being conjured out of. And like you just said, it's just a new tool. It depends how the tool, look, within 5 years, you're going to be able to type prompts that say, I would like you to make a Star Wars movie where I am the star, and I want Humphrey Bogart, Clint Eastwood, Roger Moore, and Greta Garbo to star in it with me as Jedi Knights. And you'll hit a button, and you'll wake up the next morning, and there's going to be a 2-hour full-on Star Wars movie where you're the star. That's what's in our future. When we still have human beings making movies and stuff, as a tool, I think AI can be really, really helpful.
Because here's a question. If you do say, tell me if you think this is an accurate comparison or not. If we do say that using technology to tweak the accent, right? Here's a question. One of the pieces of technology and tools and things available to filmmakers in the early days that is common now that they didn't have back then is color correction. Now, every movie goes through a process of color correction.
Yeah.
Here's a question. If a movie uses a digital artist using computers to color correct a scene, should the cinematographer be disqualified from a best cinematography since, his cinematography was adjusted in color correction? Obviously, we say no, because that's a common thing today. So I wonder if that's the same application here.
I think you're absolutely right about that. I mean, look, you know what's going to happen soon? They're going to be able to take an actor's performance. Adrian Brody can star in The Brutalist, but instead of subtitling movies, they're going to use AI to have Adrian Brody, they're going to feed his voice and intonations for all of the scenes and takes into the computer, and they're going to translate it into Japanese and use AI to make the mouth movements match. Well, we've already seen that software, and it's going to go all around the world in every language.
Here's an example of this. So I don't know if you watch Severance.
Oh yeah.
But right, there's a new episode of Severance. So my friend sent me this video here. I got to see if I can. Oh yeah, here it is. Check out this. Bring it up now, Jonathan. Where they could literally take Keanu Reeves' face and look at it. They just put it on Adam Scott's face and recreated the whole thing, but it looks like it's Keanu Reeves. Like what used to just be the deep fake stuff has gotten so advanced.
Yeah.
And the stuff they can do with AI now is really pretty crazy.
No, and it's just going to, where is it going to be in 2 years, 5 years? We're going to live in a whole new world.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this little controversy going around about The Brutalist? Some people are saying because they used AI, that disqualifies it. And I'm not trying to undermine their complaints, but I mean, isn't this just a new tool as there have always been new tools? I don't know. It's a good point of discussion. What do you guys think about this? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, before we get to our main topic today, talking about the new upcoming Superman movie, we're going to play a little game that we're going to do with you guys. And this little game that we're about to do is simply called What's More Likely? I jumped on our community tab last night and I asked our viewers, people part of our YouTube subscribers, I asked, hey guys, you got some what's more likely questions for us that you can put to Rob and I, and we'll pick out a couple and see if we can address those. So just for fun, Jonathan, what did our viewers send in?
All right, so from I am Chris Leto, John, what's more likely, Tobey Maguire getting a 4th Spider-Man installment or Andrew Garfield getting to complete The Amazing Spider-Man trilogy?
That's a question that's kind of been around a lot ever since No Way Home came out. Okay, first of all, I don't believe either of them will return. Although, again, kind of like the Hugh Jackman thing, there's anything is possible with Secret Wars and Doomsday that they can pop up.
Made a lot of money.
Yeah, they did. All right. Which one has the more likelihood of getting another installment of their movie? I'd have to say Andrew Garfield for a couple of reasons. One, I think, Andrew Garfield, Andrew never got his 3rd film, right? Tobey Maguire did. Now, granted, they were right in the process, getting ready to go into production on Spider-Man 4 when they pulled the plug on it. But Andrew Garfield never got his third film. Andrew Garfield is also a very currently relevant and hot actor right now. He's a little bit younger than Toby, and Toby, for the most part, has decided to kind of fade into the background and really not do much. As a matter of fact, I remember Andrew Garfield saying, "I'm only going to be Spider-Man again for No Way Home if Toby comes back." I remember he said this quote, it was great: "Where Toby goes, I'll follow," right? But I think if there was only going to be one, and I don't think there's going to be any, but if there was going to be one, I think the more likely scenario is Andrew Garfield. I don't know, Rob, what's more likely?
I totally agree. I think that for the reasons you stated, he's younger. He didn't get a third film, and he is more. I mean, I love the movie he was just in with Florence Pugh. It was sad.
Yeah.
What, We Live in Time?
He's so good in that.
It's so good, and I love Tick Tick Boom.
Yep.
Love that. He was great in that, and I'm a huge Andrew Garfield fan. The movie made with Mel Gibson where he played the officer that. The conscientious objector.
Something Ridge.
Heartbreak.
Not Heartbreak Ridge. That movie was phenomenal.
Phenomenal, and I mean, he's an
phenomenal movie.
Incredible.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge. He's an incredible actor, and I think that, and people love him. So I think he's the guy. Not that people don't love Tobey Maguire.
Oh, people would be very interested in Tobey Maguire.
But it's just like you said, he's more relevant to today and more, I think, more bankable. And
so I think that's more
John,
likely.
I think we're going to see both of them back in Doomsday and
Secret Wars.
I really do.
Or Doomsday or Secret Wars. One of the two.
I think more Secret Wars.
Secret Wars. Yeah. I mean, depends how Secret Wars or Doomsday ends.
All right. What's the next one?
All right. From Byron Hurley. Rob, what's more likely to happen first? Christopher Nolan winning his second Best Director Oscar, or Denis Villeneuve winning his first?
Ooh.
That's a good one. I think Christopher Nolan is going to win. You know what? Here's the thing about Denis Villeneuve. I think he's an incredible filmmaker. But I think Christopher Nolan has made between Dunkirk, The Prestige, Interstellar, with its revival 10 years later, and the fact that he's doing The Odyssey, I think Christopher Nolan has a better shot at it, only because Villeneuve's more of a genre filmmaker, if that makes any sense. Like, he's still relegated between Blade Runner, Two Dunes, Arrival.
Well, don't forget movies like Prisoners, though.
Yeah, I know. It was incredible.
Right? So he can't go outside of genre.
He can, but he's going to make Dune 3 or Dune Messiah next. Yeah. Whereas Christopher Nolan's got a big historical fantasy epic. Well, I guess it's a fantasy. Depends how he does it. I think it's more likely Nolan wins his second Oscar.
I'm going to agree with you, but strictly because of timing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. The timing is Christopher Nolan has The Odyssey that we're going to get before another Denis Villeneuve film. And when you look at, number one, he's one of the greatest filmmakers in the world. Number two, he's on an incredible hot streak, having just won with Oppenheimer. Number three, the cast he has for that. Number four, the historical importance of the source material. It's simply a matter. Listen, it's a different conversation if Denis Villeneuve had another film coming out before Christopher Nolan did, or if they were gonna have two movies come out in the same year. But the reality is Christopher Nolan's next up, and I think without even seeing a frame, you have to at least give that there's a 30% chance at least that Christopher Nolan wins for Best Director on that. So because of that, I think it is more likely that Christopher Nolan wins his second Best Director before Denis Villeneuve gets his first. Denis will get his first. Nolan may even get his third, but I think Nolan is more likely to get his second before Denis Villeneuve. All right, what's next?
All right, next up, we've got a question from War Abuser. John, what's more likely? A movie beating the record of winning 11 Oscars, or a movie surpassing Avatar's box office?
Oh my God. There have only been 3 films in history to win 11 Oscars at the Academy Awards. The most recent was Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, won 11. It's only been done 3 times in history. But I'm going to say that one is more likely. And here's why. Any given year, it can happen. It literally can happen any given year. I mean, if all the votes just fall in the right place, I mean, it's conceivable Brutalist could win 11. It's conceivable that the Conclave, by the way, That's my pick for film of the year. Doom 2 is the best film of the year, but it's not going to win. For what I think out of the ones that remaining should win is probably going to be the Conclave. Conclave could win 12, theoretically. I mean, we'll see how many nominations they get. A movie hitting $3 billion. There's not a year where any film could do that. I mean, really, the next one up that has any remote dream of a chance is Avengers Secret Wars. Like even Avatar Fire and Ash, it ain't going to make $3 billion, right? It very well could hit 2, but it's not going to make 3. So, I mean, we're going to be waiting for the next film that even has the potential to do that. Whereas any given year, another film could. So both are very unlikely. Rob, I'll say the one that is most likely to happen first is another film tying or beating the 11 Oscar record. What do you think?
I think you're right about that.
Okay.
I think you're right about that. This is a tough one though, but the thing is winning that many Oscars. I don't know if a movie could, but I think the potential exists. Right. It could.
You got it. You got to get at least 11 nominations.
You got.
That ain't easy.
I mean, I don't see anything. I don't see anything in this crop of films that we've got coming up for the Oscars now is going to come anywhere near that. And in terms of Avatar, look, I never bet against Jimmy C.
Never bet against Cameron.
I just won't do it. But and if Fire and Ash, changes it up a bit, I mean, those movies deliver the experience. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with you on that one, though.
All right, let's go on to our last one.
All right, from CamPX6FY. What's more likely, live action Shrek or a live action Frozen?
I'm going to go with Frozen.
Okay.
Only because a live action Shrek, I think, would be more difficult to pull off. Because a live action Frozen, you can cast real people. And Shrek would have to be motion capture. And who would you get Eddie Murphy to motion capture Donkey? I mean, what would you do?
I'd pay good money to see that.
I would too. I mean, I just think that Frozen would be an easier bet. But yeah, I'm going to go with Frozen.
You know what? And we're 4 for 4 and agreeing with each other on this one. I have to agree. It's just the easier one to do.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go for 2 reasons. Number one, it's the easier one to do. The 3 main characters in Frozen are all just human characters, right? The 3 main characters in Shrek are all CGI motion capture that you're going to have to do, right? Between Shrek, Fiona, and Donkey, and then Dragon and Donkey's kid, depending on which one you wanted to do. The second reason is Frozen is much more contemporary than Shrek is.
Right.
We have Shrek 5 coming, right? Which I'm brutally excited for. I cannot wait for a new Shrek movie. But Frozen right now is the more contemporary, and it's a $1 billion film after a $1 billion film, and Frozen 3 is going to be another $1 billion film. So it seems the easiest path is a Frozen live action. So I'll go with that. And listen, with contemporary movies doing live action, they're doing it with Moana right now. We're about to get a live action Moana. Right. So I think all that points to the most likely one being
it would be, motion capture, or you could do Shrek like they did Fat Bastard in the Austin Powers movies.
But
I don't think I just don't think it would be good.
No, practical costumes probably would not work for Shrek. No. That probably wouldn't work out for them.
I mean, it worked for the Grinch, but Shrek's a different. How do you do a live with that big mouth? How do you?
Oh yeah. Although the Grinch is a great example. That worked great.
Really, it worked great.
I watched a little bit of that Jim Carrey Grinch this past Christmas again. It's crazy how good that costume is. That practical costume was so, I can't even imagine how many hours he had to spend in
But
it's
it's easier to make something thinner than it is to be fatter and make it believable.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. Anyway, guys, what did you think about our this little game we played, the What's More Likely? Did you like it? I mean, we've not done it on the show before.
Those are good questions,
too. And you guys sent in great questions. Thank you so much for that. We'll probably play it again at some point, but let us know if you like this as a part of the show. If not, we just won't do it again. No problem. Anyway, with that down, guys, let's move on to our main topic here today, shall we? And that is this. Superman is coming. Both IMDb and Fandango both just recently rated as the most anticipated movie of 2025. So people are excited about it, talking about it. We already know like Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific are all going to be in the film. And while a lot of us speculated it, and even at one point James Gunn even floated it, it is Hollywood Reporter's now made it official. Millie Alcock's Supergirl is going to be in the movie. So now it's a done thing. It's a done deal. She's going to be in it. Now that in and of itself is kind of newsworthy. I still can't get over how good she is in House of the Dragon.
Oh,
Like so good that when they did the time jump and brought in new actresses to play the older versions, people said, no, just keep her.
Yeah.
Like that's how good she was in it. And I can't wait to see her as Supergirl. But it has brought up a big discussion, a discussion that's already been around, but it's now just been increased because of this. Right from the beginning, a lot of people have asked the question, Rob, does Superman have too many characters in it? Because again, not only do we have Superman, we have Nathan Fillion playing Guy Gardner, which is casting genius. I cannot wait to see him play Guy Gardner.
I can't wait either.
Mr. Terrific is probably the most comic accurate translation of a superhero look from the comic page to the screen. And you got a brilliant actor playing it. You've got Hawkgirl coming in that looked great in the trailer. And you've got, what's his name's the dad who's just in Creature Commandos, Flag. You got Flag Senior is in it. You got Ultraman. We see a little glimpse of Ultraman in there as well. I mean, so we got these guys. And now, on top of all that, you're adding Supergirl. And so a lot of people are asking, it's not even a Superman movie now. It's not even a Superman movie. It's a quasi semi-Justice League movie. There's just too many characters and all this kind of stuff. All right. For those of you who watched my channel for a long period of time, you kind of know what I'm going to say, but it got to bring it up anyway. There's actually not that many characters in this movie. The only difference is between this movie and a lot of others is that you already recognize the name of a bunch of the characters. Almost, not every, but almost every movie you watch has a long list of characters in it. Not all, but there's always one or two people who are clearly the leads and it's their movie. For example, Star Wars. Look at this. You got Luke, Han, Obi-Wan, Princess Leia, Grand Moff Tarkin, C-3PO, R2-D2, Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru. Like you got a ton of characters right there. You got 10 dozen characters right there. Now, before you saw Star Wars for the first time, you didn't know any of those names, but there were characters in it. Harry Potter. You got Harry Potter, you got Ron Weasley, you got Hermione, you got Dumbledore, McGonagall, Hagrid, the Dursleys, his uncle and aunt that he lived with, the other professors that are in there. Tons and tons and tons of characters. The thing is, unless you read the books, you didn't know the name. Hell, we were just talking about Christopher Nolan. Oppenheimer. I mean, look at this list. Tons of characters. Tons of actors, tons of characters in it. Some roles bigger than others. Or speaking of James Gunn himself, Guardians of the Galaxy. You had Star-Lord, you had Groot, you had Rocket, Gamora, Drax, Ronan, the Collector, Nebula, Yondu, Korath. You had the Nova Corps characters, John C. Reilly, blah, 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 on and on. There is no difference between all these movies that all have main characters, then with a group of supporting characters, than there is with a Superman movie. The only difference, though, Rob, I contend, is that we happen to recognize the names of the supporting characters, but they're still supporting characters. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think Supergirl, before Supergirl getting added and with Supergirl being added, I don't think at all in any way, shape, or form that there's any indication that Superman has too many characters. Superman's going to be your lead. Lois and Lex are going to be your other kind of co-main leads. And then you're going to have a bunch of supporting characters. Some will have 20 minutes of screen time. Some will have 5 minutes of screen time. I think it's much ado about nothing. Anyway, Rob, you look at this, the addition of Supergirl, too many characters, yes or no?
No, you nailed it. I mean, this is a world where superheroes exist. It's not like, it's not like Nolan's Dark Knight movie where Batman is the only superhero that exists in that world. It's not like Richard Donner's Superman where he's the only person that exists in the world. This is the DC universe that is totally populated with all different kinds of metahumans, superheroes, aliens. The Green Lantern Corps clearly exists, which means Oa exists, which means all this stuff's going on. And like you said, Superman, because he's Superman, interacts with these characters on a daily basis. It's not like this is a Justice League team movie. This is still going to be Superman's story. It's just that there's a world full of superheroes that he can interact with. And like you pointed out, they're going to be supporting characters. It's not like he's going to have a team of 6 people that they're going to go fight evil. It's going to be a Superman movie about Superman. There's just a bunch of superheroes in the world.
Yeah, actually, there's one of our viewers just put Collins E. put in this great comment because, you know, one of the things is like, if you're going to have Guy Gardner, you need a standalone Guy Gardner movie first to introduce him before bringing in super, so forth. Collins E in the live chat said this, in quotes, Nolan should have done a standalone Einstein movie before introducing him in Oppenheimer. I mean, that sounds silly, but that's exactly applicable here. It's exactly
100%. Well, the thing is, think about a comic book. Like I've been reading comic books for most of my life. There's a standalone Superman comic and there was a Justice League comic. You know, so you can follow the exploits of Superman or Spider-Man or whoever your Batman, whoever your favorite character is. And then you can read a Batman and the Outsiders comic when he's fighting like the nuclear family with a bunch of his crazy companions. But you can still do then a Batman standalone book. And I think that people are trying to pigeonhole. Here's the thing that I think we're getting with James Gunn's Superman movie. We're getting a superhero movie unlike any we've ever seen before. The world is going to be a fantastical world full of these. It's not going to be this grounded Nolan-esque, I'm shooting in Chicago. It's going to be a world of superheroes and super science and super creatures and monsters and the supernatural, and all this stuff is going to exist at once. And we've never seen that before. Not the way it's going to be done on this scale, but it's still going to be a Superman movie. And that's why I'm excited for it, because it's going to be different than what we've got. And everyone's trying to equate it to things that we've already seen. I think it's going to be different.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like, first of all, James Gunn always makes stuff that is very different. And I think this is even going to be different for him. So like, and we haven't had a chance to talk on air about like, since the Superman trailer dropped and all that stuff, where's your anticipation level for Superman right now?
I can't wait, because I'm going back and looking at James Gunn's other work, beginning with Slither and Super, and then his Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and The Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker. And you think all of those things, but then he brings in things like a Superman for All Seasons. That graphic novel is amazing. So we're going to see the distillation of all this, but everyone's going, well, I don't want to see a Superman movie like Peacemaker. Well, I don't think we're going to get that. I think he's doing something different. I think he's going to bring classical Superman. Like there's going to be some of the Max Fleischer animated Superman, and then it's going to be different things from the comics, because he's a huge DC Comics fan, especially 80s DC Comics, where you had that super science world. You had Crisis on Infinite Earths when all these characters interacted. I think we're going to get something that's really different and really interesting. And, you know, even if Guy Gardner shows up for one scene and he's hilarious, you know, and Superman and him, clearly they set up like these guys have had some kind of rivalry, and Superman's like, really? Do I have to deal with you right now? There could be one scene that lasts 5 minutes and it could be epic.
Yeah. You know, one of our viewers a while ago brought up this great theory, because, you know, we've got the Lantern series coming with a terrific cast in it, right? Somebody speculated, what if Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner gets killed, and the whole basis of the Lantern series is like a True Detective, them trying to figure out what happened to our brother Green Lantern. I like that idea.
That's a great idea.
By the way, you brought up Slither, just always a PSA. I know there's a lot of you who still haven't seen Slither. I still think it's James Gunn's best movie. You guys got to go watch Slither. It's so fun.
It's so fun. And and there's a lot of characters in that we have met none of them.
That's right. Didn't have origin movies.
You know, so.
But the actors all look familiar for a James Gunn film.
Right.
That's the funny thing. You go back now and watch Slither, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's in it. It's like it's, you'll recognize everybody in the movie.
Totally.
Most of which have worked with James Gunn several times.
Any movie's full of characters that you've never met before. So.
All right, guys, the question is for you. How do you feel about this? Maybe you don't agree with us. Maybe you do have a little bit of a worry that maybe the Superman movie might be a little bit overcrowded. Maybe you're like us and you think, no, this is just like any other film. Where's your anticipation level like for Superman right now? Hopefully it'll be good. Maybe it'll be terrible. We don't know. Whatever you guys think, Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to move on now to start taking your live comments and questions. But, Rob's still putting the final touches on that little True Noir thing, so he's going to split. For now, Rob, awesome having you back in.
Dude, it's great.
So good having you back.
It's like old home week. We got a new president. I'm back.
So listen, guys, we're going to move on. You'll see Rob again later this week. We're going to move on now to take your live questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at BetterHelp. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. Every January is like a blank slate, 365 pages waiting for you to fill them in. Perhaps it's time to rewrite a chapter that's been holding you back. Life isn't about resolutions that fade. It's about becoming the author of your own life story. And in writing that story, therapy can be your trusted editorial partner, helping you craft meaningful chapters, build resilience, and empower you to live the life that you've always envisioned. Therapy can help you learn positive coping skills, set boundaries, and become your best self. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers fully online therapy, making it affordable and convenient. With over 30,000 licensed therapists specializing in diverse needs, you can find somebody who truly understands your story. You can even switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. I often hear from some of our viewers who talk about having some real struggles and challenges over the last couple of years. Well, listen, we commit ourselves to getting more physically strong and healthy by going to the gym. It's time for us to commit to getting more mentally and emotionally strong by getting involved in therapy. So write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that all down, let's get over to your live comments and questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
Joshua says, hey, my question is this. Do you think Avatar Fire and Ash will be the first movie to pass $3 billion? Just talking about that. Mark, I personally don't think it will, but I've learned to never underestimate James Cameron.
No, I don't think it will. Of course, never. I'm not going to bet $1,000 against it, but I don't think it will. I mean, listen, it's going to be a ridiculously huge smash hit. It's going to make billions. All right. Actually, let me go over what did, let me check out Box Office Mojo for a second. What did Avatar make? Avatar 2 made at the box office. Avatar, The Way of Water, ended up joining the $2 billion club and made $2.3 billion. Still a bunch below, like several $100 million behind the first Avatar.
Yeah, like 600 million.
So I don't think it makes 3. I don't think it goes up. I think it goes down a little bit, but still one of the top probably 10 highest grossing films of all time. So since Avatar Way of Water made a little bit less, still $2.3 billion. I think the question becomes, will it join the $2 billion club? Not will it join the 3. So I'm going to guess that it won't make 3. All right, what's next?
Yeah, as Mar says, we just need Shuri in a Black Panther costume sitting in an empty AMC theater telling us we make movies better, and John will actually explode. Over under 70% on Chris Evans appearing in Cap 4. It would feel odd if he sits this out and doesn't give advice. I don't think we see him at all.
I'm going to guess we don't, but I wouldn't bet money against it, like even for a moment. Because remember, we haven't seen Old Man Cap because he hasn't died.
No.
We haven't seen Old Man Cap since the end of Endgame, right?
Yeah.
He didn't pop up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Remember, I still bet with those rumors saying there's rumors he's on the moon. I wouldn't doubt it if he actually goes to the moon to visit him. So I wouldn't bet against it, but my guess is no. Now, we already know Chris Evans is coming back. Like, that's been confirmed. But I don't think we're going to see him again until Doomsday. So I'm going to guess no, but I wouldn't put money on it. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Funko Pimp says, John, did you see either Avatar film in 3D? Your thoughts on just the 3D aspect of those particular films? I love 3D. I know you hate 3D, but when I saw Avatar 2 in 3D, high frame rate, it was like a 3-hour Disneyland ride. Highly recommended because I was high.
Yeah, listen, again, I'm not a big fan, for those who don't know, I'm not a big fan of 3D. I just don't appreciate, like, or even understand the idea of having these filmmakers and cinematographers spending years developing these rich, colorful, vibrant images. And then the first thing we do when we go into a movie theater is put tinted film over our eyes. whatever. But I did see the first time I saw Avatar, the first one, I watched it in 3D and I was very impressed.
I think the way he uses it is innovative. You feel
Yes.
like there's depth and you can see around the corner of the screen. It doesn't necessarily come out at you.
Yeah, I was very impressed with it. But then the second time I watched Avatar, I saw it in non 3D and I realized I didn't enjoy this one bit less. And so I thought, did the 3D actually add anything to it for me? The answer was no. So I watched the second one just in regular screens, and that was the last time I went to go see a movie in 3D. Was the first hour. I think 3D is a useless gimmick. I'll be very interested in 3D. Like, there's a reason TV manufacturers don't even make 3D TVs anymore. Right? It's useless. It's a useless gimmick.
Too many components too.
I will be interested when we get our first glasses-less 3D movie. Whenever that technology finally hits, when we're able to go into a movie theater and see a movie in 3D without glasses, I will be interested to see how that works. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay, Ben Affleck is Batman with a two-parter. Says, hi, guys. Luke here from the UK. New fan since December. And
Nice to have you guys.
Yeah, and, been loving the show. Now an avid fan and tuning in every week. And now doing my first tip. I've always been a huge DC fan and can't wait for the new DCU. All I ask is we get a great fit for both Bruce and Batman, like Batfleck, who I think is the best Batman to date. Also, we need more fight scenes like the warehouse one in BVS.
Man, the warehouse fight scene in Batman versus Superman was that was just great. Like, to see a no holding back Batman just beating the living shit out of people was so great. And I love listen, I don't care what anybody says. I like Batman versus Superman. I like that movie. And I thought the fight between Batman and Superman was great too. Yeah, listen, you go over the thing, and it's like most guys who have played Batman have either really made a really good Bruce or made a really good Batman. When you look at, like, say, Michael Keaton, he was a really good Bruce. In the same way, I think Val Kilmer was also a really good Bruce. I think Christian Bale was a really good Batman. I think George Clooney was a really good Bruce. I think Ben Affleck was both a really good Bruce and a really good Batman. And I agree. I think the real trick in casting whoever the new Batman is going to be, and for the record, I think they've already cast him. I don't know who it is, but I think they've already cast him. We just don't know who it is. But the real trick is finding somebody who plays them both very well.
Yeah.
I think Pattinson came pretty close. Like, I love Pattinson's Batman. I really do. And I think he came really close to giving us a certain version of a Bruce Wayne and a certain version of a Batman. Although my one critique about the Robert Pattinson Batman, and I love that movie, love it, is that there wasn't enough of a dichotomy between his Bruce and his Batman.
Yeah, I think we'll see that in the new one, though.
Yeah, I think we'll see that. Now he's a little bit older, he's a little bit more experienced, and he's really got to create two very different personas. Yeah. Because in Matt Reeves' Batman, they were a little bit too similar. Even I still thought it was great, but we'll see them address it. But that'll be the trick in casting the new Batman for sure. All right, what's next?
Dookie Shoes says, hey, y'all, I know we're getting Julia Garner as Shala Bal in Fantastic Four this year, but do you think we'll get Norrin Rad relatively soon? And I know you don't like X Actor X role, but Rami Malek would kill as a Norrin Rad.
Absolutely, but Rami Malek would kill in 90% of any roles you offer him because he's an Academy Award-winning actor. So, for sure. Do I think we'll get the more traditional Silver Surfer anytime soon? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we'll definitely get that Silver Surfer. 100% we'll get them at some point. Do we get them anytime soon? My guess is going to be not until at least after Secret Wars. That's going to be my guess. Listen, there's a huge pantheon of Fantastic Four villains. And you don't, like, we're already getting a Galactus, right? We're already getting that. You don't want to come out of the gate and just, like, empty your barrel too fast.
Yeah.
So we're going to get them. My guess, and it's just a guess, my guess will be sometime after Secret Wars. All right, what's next?
We got Big Lenny who says in a two-parter, hi, John and crew, longtime listener, first time contacting y'all. I think I cracked the code on why Kevin Feige said that Doctor Strange will play a pivotal role in Secret Wars. I know they don't follow the comics completely. However, I think he will be playing the same role. In the comics, he is the only one who remembers what life was like before Doom. I think that is why they show him follow Clea into the dark dimension, a place out of time. He will come back and be the only one that knows what Doom did.
It's very similar to the Age of Apocalypse storyline in the X-Men comics, where Legion goes back in time, kills Charles Xavier, and now the world has changed. The world is now, what happens? What did the world look like now if 20 years ago Charles Xavier died? And they had, I don't know if you remember this, they had one character who remembered both timelines, and that was Bishop in the X-Men comic run. So, and they have something similar to that in Secret Wars. And for them to make that Doctor Strange in this, I think that's probably... Oh, Jonathan, is your mic on? Somebody said your mic isn't on. Anyway.
Yeah, he's late to the show.
Oh, okay. Oh, I get it. So
yeah.
I think that is very possible. Although I bet if you ask Kevin Feige, he's going to say several characters are going to be very pivotal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think what your theory is a pretty valid one. All right, what's next?
All right, we got A Guy's Weakness, 1 of 2. Finally saw Nosferatu, and John, you must have never had the sun as a time enemy when attending a late night booty call. It's every guy's enemy when sneaking around at night. It's happened to me twice in my life when the sun and time betrayed me. Once in high school, I snuck out, stole my parents' car to visit a schoolgirl. Man, this is out of like a 70s movie. And the other time, I snuck out of my girlfriend's apartment to visit on a Tinder app girl, just like Count Orlok. Both times I lost track of time, both got in deep trouble. I hope you learned your lesson.
Okay. That's fine. Of course, a little bit of a spoiler here, but the movie's been out for well over a month now.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen it, you're obviously not that interested in it. A little bit of a spoiler here for the Nosferatu movie. One of the things that I didn't like it nearly as much as a lot of people did. I didn't hate it, but I just didn't like it as a lot. One of the things that was really stupid to me is the Count Orlok dying at the end because he's smashing with the girl and just lost track of time. Oopsie. And the sun came up. Oopsie. It's one thing that you're sneaking out of the house, and it's one thing that you're sneaking around on this. If you fucking die, if you're still out when the sun comes up, I might suggest you would have been a little bit more cognizant of when that sun was coming up. And sneaking around, you lose track of the time, you smash. No. You will fucking die if you're still out when the clock strikes 6 a.m. or something like that. You're going to be looking at your watch a lot more often. And I get it, Orlok didn't have a watch per se, but he's been around for thousands of years. He knows when the sun's coming up. And I don't care how good that poo thing is that you're doing with that girl in that bed. And I'm sure it was mind-blowingly good. But the poo-poo, that ain't enough to die for. He's going to get out. He's going to finish up, clean up, and say, honey, I got to go. And you're going to get out of there before you die. So, yeah, getting in trouble with the parents is one thing. You're going to die if you don't go back. Yeah, I think he's got that on lockdown. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Celia says, it's funny, the 2 Disney Plus shows that I thought looked very cool turned out to be just okay. Secret Invasion and Acolyte. I'd be less than just okay, but okay. In contrast, the 2 shows I thought looked dumb and had little interest turned out to be very enjoyable. Agatha and Skeleton Crew. Wow.
If you had asked me a year ago, which pair of shows do you think will be better? Secret Invasion and Acolyte? Like as a Marvel and Star Wars matchup. Uh-huh. Secret Invasion and Acolyte, or I guess a little over a year ago now, if you had asked me. Or Skeleton Crew and Agatha All Along. 10 times out of 10, I would have said, oh, for sure, Secret Invasion and Acolyte will be the better pairing. Those will be the better shows. Oh, how wrong we were. because I straight up hated. I didn't hate Secret Invasion as much as Acolyte, but I didn't like Secret Invasion, and I hated the Acolyte. And I straight up loved both of Agatha and Skeleton Crew. Probably Skeleton Crew more than Agatha, but Agatha was a real pleasant surprise. Like I believed in Agatha, but I didn't think it was going to be that good. And Skeleton Crew exceeded all my expectations. So yeah, never would have guessed if you'd asked me a while ago, what's going to be the better pairing, Acolyte and Secret Invasion or Skeleton Crew and Agatha? I would have said Acolyte and Secret Invasion 10 times out of 10. And man, were we wrong.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. I'm just going to say D. Mullins because I don't want to butcher your first name. Hi, John. What are your thoughts on Mel Gibson developing the sequel to Passion of the Christ? The lead actor, Jim Caviezel, says it's going to be the biggest film in the world. No, in world history, no. Anyway, love the show and keep up the good work.
First of all, I don't believe... Again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't believe. Maybe somebody can send me a quote from it and I'll stand corrected. I don't believe Jim Caviezel said it's going to be the biggest film in world history.
Yeah, I don't.
Because if he did, Jim Caviezel is stupid. that movie is not going to be a $3 billion film.
Right.
Hate to break it to him. It can be very successful. It can be super successful. Absolutely it can. It ain't going to be the biggest film in world history. That being said.
The title, the Fez that I have right here.
Jesus Christ.
It's so accurate.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Listen, what do you think about a director going back and doing a sequel of a very successful film they had done before? There's an audience for it. I'm not interested in it personally, and that's fine, but it makes sense. There's an audience for it, clearly. It's one of the bigger successes that he's had was the original one that he did. So, I mean, really the only question is, why did he wait this long to do a sequel to it? Right? So yeah, it makes sense. All right, what's next?
Chase Cameron says, I think Gerwig is adapting the first book in Narnia series, timeline-wise, The Magician's Nephew, which follows the professor from Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe when he was a kid and shows the creation of Narnia. That's my favorite of the series, that novel, but I don't think that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one way to go. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I may be incorrect about this. I haven't dedicated a lot of time to research this, but I don't think we know really what Greta's thing is going to be, whether she's even adapting maybe something original that fits in with the series. I'm not really sure. I still don't think it's a good idea to make it. And I say this as somebody who's a big fan of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and the series. And I've been reading, C.S. Lewis since before probably some of you guys were alive. Like going all the way back to even his other works, stuff like Screw Tape Letters, Mere Christianity, stuff like this. I was a theologian, so I was really heavy into C.S. Lewis's stuff. But I just think it's something that kind of faded out, and maybe they should remake it in another 10 years. But I am curious to see what Greta Gerwig is going to do with it, and hopefully it turns out to be great. All right, what's next?
All right, Matan shares his thoughts on The Brutalist. Says, shame on The Brutalist on using AI. It's very hypocritical. Every film that has even the tiniest bit of use of generative AI should be disqualified from all the awards, even if the use isn't related to the category or guild.
Yeah, there are other people who share that mentality.
Oh, you dropped your...
Keep hitting, my heel keeps hitting the button to drop my chair. There are other people who have that mentality, and I get that. But to me, that makes no sense. Like somebody uses a computer to alter the color of somebody's shirt, which happens all the time in movies for years now since we've had color correction, right? That's the computer doing the work. Should that be disqualified? AI is just a tool to tell a story. At the end of the day, we're awarding a movie based on what movies gave us the best stories and told those stories great. And whether somebody used a computer to adjust the color in a scene, or whether the shot you see on screen is purely captured from the lens the way the designer made it, or whether or not, like, you actually went out and recorded the sound effect for that, or took a sound effect from a library and just applied it, like, should that be disqualified? Every movie uses some canned pre-existing sound in their ADR and in their Foley and in their sound mix. Every movie does. Some of them, they'll go out and record actual stuff. Some of them, no, we go into a library, we pull out some sounds and just put them in. Should that be disqualified? No, we've just come to accept in the modern time, as technology advances, these are just new tools that are available to the storyteller. And so if you're not going to say any movie that uses computers to do color correction should be disqualified, then I don't think you can say anybody that used a computer to have it generate a building image in the background should be disqualified. I think that's going way too far, and you're going to find yourself on a very slippery slope. Because then what technology are we saying is okay to use, and what technology is not okay to use? And you're going to find yourself going down a pretty slippery slope there if you do that. But that's just my interpretation of it. All right, what's next?
Suthia says, if Aldous does indeed become a Black Panther character, which one would make more sense story-wise? A universal variant of T'Challa or a future version of T'Challa's son, whom we saw at the end of Wakanda Forever? I'll be excited either way. I think they use the multiverse.
Yeah, me too. First of all, let's be clear. T'Challa's son is not T'Challa.
Right.
Right? He might also have the name, but T'Challa Jr. is not T'Challa. That's a totally different character.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking about T'Challa is a vital and important character in this universe. You can't just take another character, give them the same name, call them Junior, and say it's the same character. It's not. It's a totally different character. So I think what they should do, and I think what they will do, if the reports about it are true, and that's a big if, is definitely have T'Challa return. Whether it's through a story hook, that it's not another universe's version. It's actually, hey, listen, how many times has Marvel had a character killed off and brought them back? So they can just do it that way. Or say it's another universe's that's getting collapsed versions of T'Challa. It's now come into our world, whatever. But I think that's definitely the better way to go. It's the way they should go. Because T'Challa Jr. is not T'Challa. It's T'Challa Jr. It's a totally different character who, by the way, is way too young. So anyway, so even if you wanted that kid to be the new Black Panther, you're going to have to do some multiversal time travel tomfoolery anyway. So just make it T'Challa.
Right.
Anyway, that's my personal, not everybody agrees, and that's cool, but that's my take on it.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Super says, me and my wife were sick this past week, and I used it as an excuse to finally show her Lord of the Rings for the first time.
Nice.
Well, every time I hear that, I love it. In my opinion, Howard Shore composing Fellowship is my favorite score for a film. Curious to know your favorite composer movie combo. I mean, it's probably John Williams
Star Wars. I mean, it's... But yes, listen, the music and the score for The Lord of the Rings, like everything from the themes of Mordor and Rohan and Gondor and the Shire and the various characters. I mean, everything is, when I want to irritate my wife is not tiny, but she's shorter, like, and on the shorter side, right? So every once in a while, when I feel like irritating her, when she walks into the room, I start whistling the Shire theme. It's like as if she's a hobbit. Anyway, but the music is so, actually, you know what? Sometimes when I'm just working on stuff, and if I'm in my living room and I don't come into my office, I just sit in my living room, put my laptop on my lap and just working. Every once in a while, I'll go into YouTube and I'll just bring up Lord of the Rings ambient music.
I do that too.
And
get a little fire crackling sound and like whatever. The sounds of the Shire or whatever.
It's so relaxing. Yeah. Seriously, like, you know, a score is truly magical if when you hear it, even in the background, your imagination is instantly whisked into the movie. And Lord of the Rings are some of the best at it for sure. All right, what's next?
All right, so Forbidden says, so Chris Evans will face Doom again? Yep. Well, maybe. Yeah, probably, right? Because he's going to be in Doomsday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Only this time he won't be Johnny.
Right.
This time he won't be Johnny.
I love that outtake of Johnny, and you realize, like, he really kind of deserved what he got.
And let me tell you something else.
Yeah.
Seriously, that post-credit scene was genius. Yeah. And let me tell you something else. And how good is Chris Evans in that
I know.
post-credit scene?
I know.
Oh my God. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Christopher Andrews says, John, I was wondering, have you ever considered giving your quick thoughts on maybe a weekly basis on the movies you saw during that week, whether you enjoyed them or not, or if you were recommend them? You kind of do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't do it for every film, but like for the bigger films, I'll do out of theater reactions and stuff like that. Although I'll tell you what I am considering doing. I kind of started this before and kind of fell off of it, but I think I'm going to start doing it again this year. I think I'm going to start doing maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks or so, doing a video series that's just simply a revisit review.
Hmm.
You know, where I'm going to go back to movies that have been out for years and just kind of do a revisit. Like I'm going to sit down and watch this movie again. And my reaction, like, for instance, like last night, Ann and I watched a big chunk of Greatest Showman again. Fuck, that movie's awesome. That movie's not good. Greatest Showman is freaking awesome. Or go back and watch Officer and a Gentleman. Or go back and watch the first Top Gun, or go back and watch the first Avengers, or go, you know, I'm thinking every couple of weeks doing just something that I used to do again years ago, just called revisit reviews. Again, I started that years and years and years ago. So maybe I might go back to doing that again.
All right.
All right. What's next?
Anonymous says, Jonathan, your best Oscar Isaac impression, please say somehow, well, I don't know, like, other than like kind of a New Yorkie East Coast accent, I don't really know how to do that, but somehow swallow for effect. The Viceroy has returned.
The Viceroy has returned. That's God. Seriously, The Rise of Skywalker is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like it's not in the top 10 worst movies I've ever seen, but it's floating around there in the discussion.
Boy.
There's just so much bloody.
Talk
wrong
about
things.
a series of like convenient events that happen
Oh.
throughout the galaxy in that moment, right when you need it to happen.
It's oh my God. It's
Okay,
so
we're
bad.
here. Now we're there. Or we're here.
Yep.
And this fits. And look at that. I can see on the Death Star. And here we are. And now here's the Rebel Alliance again. We win.
Du-du-du-du. All right, what's next?
Orange Hand says, you may have already talked about this, but I recently read, excuse me, about second screen content where streamers are ordering writers to dumb down the writing as to cater to people on their phones. I really think streaming has done more harm to TV than good.
There's a difference there's no I don't believe for 1 second any studio has told writers dumb down the show.
Yeah.
Because that has no bearing. How smart or not smart, how in-depth or whatever it is no different watching it on the phone. Visually. Now, I could see streamers and stuff like that telling their filmmakers and storytellers to visually keep in mind that there are going to be people who are going to be watching this on a small thing. But that has no impact. Like, the depth or lack of depth in a story doesn't change from whether you're seeing it on a big screen or a small screen. It's the visual experience that changes. I could totally see them saying, keep in mind, they're going to be maybe 30% or 25% of our audience is going to be watching this on a small screen. So make sure when you're framing everything, you're keeping in mind like that things are going to be very viewable. And so I could see that, but story-wise,
Yeah.
I don't see any purpose for that at all. I don't buy that. All right, what's next?
Forbidden says, sorry, can't remember if I asked this before or not, but about T'Challa's son taking the mantle. We say he's too young, but when did the MCU timeline ever make sense?
But again,
It says continuity. It's not the X-Men Fox universe that has no continuity.
But again, I would say this: if you're going to start utilizing time travel, multidimensional, and get into all of that nonsense, then actually give us T'Challa.
yeah.
Give us the actual T'Challa, not
gonna do
T'Challa
that.
Jr. T'Challa Jr. is not T'Challa. Just if you're going to do it anyway, give us T'Challa.
Right.
Anyway. All right, what's next?
We got a two-parter from Amin. Saw The Brutalist over the weekend, and I pretty much agree with you two, John and Jonathan. While I don't think the entire second half is weak, the third act does fall apart. It felt like they had a strong vision but struggled to wrap it up properly. The destination wasn't nearly as satisfying as the journey. While I loved things like the performances, aesthetic, the main plot, it felt like a missed opportunity. This honestly could have been a masterpiece. Curious to hear Rob's thoughts. Unfortunately,
Because Rob's not
stepped
here.
out.
By the way, I would say this. I don't think the second half of the movie fell apart.
No, it plateaued and then
Yeah, I feel like just though it got very, I don't know how to really put this into words. It became heavy. And I don't mean heavy as in thematically heavy. I mean, I could almost feel the weight of the movie.
Almost felt laborious.
It was laborious,
Yeah.
the second half to get through without things to justify the cadence. You know what I mean? So it's not that I felt like, oh, suddenly the second half of the movie became totally inconsistent and it made no sense. No. I don't think the second half of the movie fell apart. I just feel like the second half of the movie was a much less enjoyable experience than the first one because it lacked its cadence. It just felt very laborious. It felt like you were kind of drudging through it.
Yeah.
Whereas the first half of the film, I felt it had its own cadence and pace, but I don't know. How did you feel about that?
That was exactly right. It's the pacing. The first half, yeah, I felt like I got to the break like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and then it was like, well, then the second half we'll move fast too. And all of a sudden I'm just like, wow, man, this thing, when is this ending? It's like things fall apart. He goes to become a drafter. Oh, guess what? You're going back to the same person that just screwed you over. And well, now he's really going to screw you over. And it was just like a back and forth. I was like, we visited this already so many times, you know?
All right. What's next?
We got Send Me Your Blade script. Says, saw A Complete Unknown and loved it. Got me curious which Chalamet performance would be more deserving of an Oscar nom win. Dune 2 or A Complete Unknown. Is it possible for him to be nominated twice in the same category within the same year?
No. That you can now. There is a misnomer out there that the people still today have said, well, two people can't be nominated in the same category. Like whenever it was brought up that, hey, guess what, guys? It's category fraud. Ariana Grande was not a supporting character in Wicked. She is one of the co-leads.
Yeah.
Then people say, but you can't nominate two people from the same movie in the same category. Yes, you can. As a matter of fact, in film history, there's been a movie with 3 actors all nominated for Best Lead Actor from the same movie. It was the thing of Mutiny on the Bounty.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like one of the older versions of it, right?
Right.
You can't, Terms of Endearment had the 2 lead actresses both nominated for lead actress. Yes, you can.
Yeah, and the Emmys do it all the time.
Yeah, what you cannot have is one person nominated in the same category twice in the same year. That you can't do. So, for example, you can't have Timothée Chalamet cannot be nominated. If I understand the rules correctly, and maybe I'm not, but if I remember the rules correctly, Timothée Chalamet cannot be nominated for Best Actor in Dune and nominated for Best Actor in Complete Unknown. I think it has to be one or the other, as far as I understand. I still have not seen A Complete Unknown. It's the one film that I didn't see.
Really good.
And I want to see it. I just never get around to finding the time to do it.
It kind of blew me away. I realized later, I just didn't realize he was playing it, but he plays Johnny Cash in A Complete Unknown. What's his name? He was in Narcos that first season. He's blonde in Narcos.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, he really disappeared into that role of Johnny Cash. It was pretty crazy.
Boyd Holbrook.
Who
was also in Logan.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Duck says, Buenas tardes. I want to start a little thing on YouTube, but don't know where to start in terms of recording and editing software. I'm really bad at this stuff. Sorry. Any tutorials you could recommend or a place to start? Well, for editing, wouldn't you recommend DaVinci? For one thing, it's free.
Here's the thing. DaVinci Resolve, and this is no knock on anything like Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere, both of which I've used. DaVinci is, like those two things, Hollywood standard kind of editing software, but it's free. Now you can get the pro version of DaVinci Resolve, and that has like 5% more things in it for really, really advanced stuff.
Yeah.
But for like almost everything you would use a great industry standard video editor, DaVinci Resolve, because it's got audio editing in it. It's got visual effects in it. It's got titling in it. It's got your straight editing in it. It's great. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend. And there's a ton of online tutorials of how to use DaVinci Resolve.
As a matter of fact, DaVinci Resolve even trains it gives you content and it gives you videos where you are editing. It's like going to class.
Yeah.
DaVinci teaches it for you.
And again, a lot of YouTube creators just do complete DaVinci tutorials. And so it's free, so you can't lose any money. I would highly, highly, highly recommend DaVinci Resolve.
There you go.
All right, what's next?
Oxymoronic Dreamer says, what's your opinion of stockpiling Blu-ray players while we still can, so that those of us who love our physical media can continue to enjoy our library for years to come? Are there any advantages or disadvantages to that?
100%. Listen, I have not, you know what? I'm glad you just reminded me of that. I need to open up give me a second here. So I am not a physical media guy, right? Like at all. And I haven't bought or collected physical media in years. And I don't plan on doing it. I acknowledge the benefits of physical media. There are definitely some benefits to physical media. 100% there are. But I just believe the benefits of digital far outweighs it. That's just me. It's funny you bring this up because last night, like I have Google Home devices all around my house, but I also have a couple of Amazon
I can't remember what they're called, but
Alexas.
Alexas.
I have a number of Alexas around the house, including in my kitchen. And every once in a while, Alexa will bring up like some random quiz or question. And last night, I went in my kitchen and there was a random poll question on it. It says, do you at any time, even once a year, buy any physical media? I clicked on it, no. And this was funny. This is what came up. It then showed me the result. That 68.5% of everybody, and I'm sure they got millions of responses, indicated that not even once a year do they buy a piece of physical media. Not even once. 7 out of 10 people say not even once a year do I buy a piece of physical media. But if you are one of those people who really does really value your physical media, I believe it is not just a decent idea. I think you absolutely must buy a couple of extra physical media players because almost no companies even make them anymore.
Yeah.
They're still being made, but every year, big major producer announces we don't make Blu-ray players anymore. We don't make, they've been dropping like flies. I would say it's an absolute must that you should, number one, buy 2 or 3 of those things. And I would literally not only not open the box, I would saran wrap the box, keep all dust, everything out of that box, and I would store those things away because eventually your Blu-ray player will break down. And hopefully then you'll still have a perfect, pristine, another Blu-ray player they can use. I would say yes, I think that's a good idea. If you are a hardcore physical media person, I think you should do that, yes.
Sure.
All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Obi Amin Kenobi with a 4-parter. Hi, John and crew. Been listening for about 2 years. Second time tipper. My father passed away on December 30th.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
And in those moments of sadness, I found comfort listening to your show. Thanks for the great job you do and the community you've built. I want to share a piece of my eulogy I delivered at his funeral. My father taught me to love movies and TV. My dad loved movies, especially James Bond movies and Star Wars. From a very young age, he took me to the cinema to see films that I probably shouldn't have seen at my age, like Jaws. And he was the first person I saw stay until the end of the movie and watch all the credits roll and say, did you see how many people worked on this movie? My love for movies will always be entangled with my love for my father.
It's one of the greatest things about movies is because, I always say about movies, they are experiential events, right? And experiences are always best shared. I bring this up all the time. Like, my best friend growing up, his name was Brendan, passed away a couple of years ago. And like, I will always never be able to think of Michael Keaton's Batman without thinking of me and Brendan as kids. Like for the first time ever, like getting on a bus and going downtown by ourselves to go to Jackson Square in Hamilton, Ontario, to go to the Famous Players movie theater that was in the Jackson Square Mall to go and see Batman. It's a memory forever etched in my consciousness. And there are several people in several movies that I have that with, and that's one of the great things. And the fact that you and your dad were able to share those experiences and they became such a foundational part of you, I think is amazing. And so in many ways now, whenever you watch a movie again that you and your dad watch, it's going to be like you're watching it with your dad. Because I know in the last couple of years, a couple of times I've sat down to watch that Michael Keaton Batman movie again. And it's always felt like I was watching it with Brendan. And those are great things and one of the great powerful things about movies. So thanks for sharing your experience, man. Again, our deepest condolences, but thank you for sharing that experience. All right, what's next?
Okay, Piero says Star Wars often shows redemption arcs. With Jod, there's more to him. He told Wim, "No one helps, as no one helped him. Seeing the New Republic might spark his redemption. Brilliant character, perfectly portrayed by Jude Law. Loved him in The Young Pope too."
Oh, Jude Law is fantastic. By the way, nobody ever talks about him as Watson in the Sherlock Holmes
I know
movies
he
that
gets
does.
overshadowed, and he's great.
Him and Robert Downey Jr., one of the reasons those movies work so well for me is because they have such great chemistry. Anyway, and that's why I was so excited when he was joining this. I love the fact that he was not, because listen, how many things have we had now? Right? Rebels had a guy who was a young Padawan when the Jedis were murdered, and now he's grown up. The video game series. Why am I freezing on the name of it again? Fallen Order?
Fallen Order, yeah.
Yeah, Fallen Order. Again, about a young guy who was a Padawan, but then his Jedi Masters were killed during Order 66, and now he's older. And now we have it again. But instead of being a guy who always held on to being good, he's like, nah, man, I just saw the rottenness of life.
Yeah.
And you survive. You do what you need to do. He's not necessarily evil per se, but he's like that. And I really like the fact that they went a little bit of a different direction with him than they did with the other Jedi characters who have grown up, right? After the events of Order 66. So I thought that was a really good move for them. And I'll be very curious to see where they go for him with him if we ever get a Skeleton Crew season 2. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Anonymous who says, just finished season 2 of Shrinking. Man, Harrison Ford made me tear up. Almost felt like he wasn't acting in that one scene toward the end. Best performance I've seen from him.
Listen, I've been saying, first of all, I've been preaching the gospel of Shrinking. It's the best show on TV. It's amazing. And Harrison Ford hasn't been this good in over a decade. Harrison Ford is so good in this. Jason Segel, best work of his career. You got to watch it. It's not only emotionally beautiful, it's freaking hilarious. You got to watch Shrinking. Best thing on TV right now. All right, what's next?
Slart Bart says, welcome back, Rob. A while ago, you mentioned a book about a vampire that was an alien operating from a spaceship and people mistook him for Jesus. Does that ring any bells? I lost the title of it and have been very interested in reading it since then.
Well, once again, obviously Rob is not
Yeah.
here. Rob split after we did all the main topics because, he's still working on True North. He's putting finishing touches on the rest of it. It certainly does not ring any bells for me.
Yeah.
So I can't even begin to answer that, but if I can remember, I'll try to bring it up with him when I do. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Mr. I says, Rob, my fellow connoisseur of physical media, great to see you. John, are we in for a great weekend of football coming up? The Commanders versus the Eagles and the 2-on-1 main event, the Bills versus Chiefs and the Zebras.
Oh yeah. Look, I won't spend too much time on the sports things. I know a lot of people don't like it, but listen, all due respect to the God level talent of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game. Man, the refs sure are on their side. I watched that game, dude, and there were some major calls. It's like, how are you calling that? Bills will beat the Chiefs. I mean, anything can happen. Anything can happen. If I was putting any money on that, Bills will beat Chiefs. Anyway, it was a great weekend of football this weekend. It's going to be a great weekend of football next weekend. All right, what's next?
We got Prince Akeem says, welcome back, Rob. Also, happy MLK Day.
Yeah, listen, I remember when I was in Bible college, I had 2 big posters. I mean, Martin Luther King, everybody understandably and rightfully so, thinks of him in terms of civil rights. And 100% they should. To me, I was always completely fascinated that he had such a proper understanding of theology in a world where not a lot of people, even those professing to be of the Christian faith, do not know the first fucking thing about theology. And Martin Luther King did. He understood theology. He understood the Christian faith. He understood Jesus in a way that even a lot of the way the church don't properly understand it. And so I had several posters on my wall in Bible college of Martin Luther King and his quotes. And so I always look forward to this day a lot. All right, what's next?
Forbidden says, I apologize, John. Don't mean to sound snarky, but do you think who do you think will appear in the Secret Wars? You seem to doubt everything, but the whole point of Secret Wars is the multiverse. But I mean, it's going to be within reason.
No, there's only a couple of outliers that I don't think will be in there. Like, I think just about every character that's been a part of the MCU will be thrown in there. But there are a few outliers that I don't. The ones that I doubt are, and again, I'm just guessing as a fan. I don't have any insider. I'm just guessing. I doubt the Hugh Jackman thing. And I doubt the guys who came in to play the two older Spider-Men, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I think No Way Home was the swan song that neither of them ever got. And I think that the Wolverine thing for him was a one-shot. Other than that, there might be a couple of other outliers, but I think we're going to get like a whole ton of characters. I think just about everybody will be there, but it's just those couple that I have doubts that will be.
I lean toward that too, simply because if we only have a finite amount of time and we've had so much space between seeing people like Shang-Chi and all these other ones, are we really going to spend developing time with characters we've already known and then had a swan song? Or are we going to start developing these characters that we're supposed to be getting in the MCU, like Shang-Chi and others? So we're probably going to focus on the core MCU people.
Yeah. And again, there's going to be a lot of them. And listen, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Hugh Jackman, they could, I'm not saying it's impossible. They absolutely could pop up in there, but those are the very few. So don't pick out like the 2% that I'm pointing out saying, John, you don't think anybody's going to be it. No, they're just a couple of characters that I have my doubts about, but we'll see. All right. What's next?
Hey guys, wishing you and everyone a meaningful Dr. MLK Day. Let's use this day for introspection and thoughtful conversations. Love ya. Also, I have so many TV shows to watch, but Aldous H in Cross and Amazon is great. Hooked me after episode 1. I haven't gotten to that yet.
No, I am dying to watch that. First of all, I just love the character. I mean, unfortunately, who does Tyler Perry's? I like Tyler very much. I've had a chance several times to sit down and hang out with him. Tyler Perry's great. I was not a big fan of his interpretation of Alex Cross. But that's the only one. I've loved all the other Alex Cross stuff. And so I'm very, and Aldous, he's just so great. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one. All right, what's next?
All right, Nolan Wins says, last year I wasn't hyped for a lot of things, but 2025 is the opposite. My most anticipated Marvel film, Fantastic Four, a new Superman, Jurassic World, Avatar, and even with new games, a new Switch, Mario Kart 9, Metroid, and comics, Marvel, Godzilla crossover, so hyped.
Tell you what, man, 2025 is looking like a great year.
Yeah.
I mean, we did 2 videos at the beginning of the year. One is the films of 2025 that have the best potential to be billion-dollar films, and a separate most anticipated of 2025. And man, when we start putting those lists together, it was crazy how many movies we had to even leave off our list because we already had too many. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be an absolutely great year. Cannot wait.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Henry Jones Jr. Do you think the Muppets should return in movie form? Chris would say yes. Maybe with the involvement of Jason Segel. How should they be utilized in the future?
I don't know that it would work today. No. Let me rephrase that. I know it would work. I don't know if it would be successful. I don't know that it would bring out an audience. That last one that he did, that Jason was in, was wonderful. I love that one. They did a follow-up one to it as well that wasn't as good. Then Disney tried a couple of Muppet things on Disney Plus that didn't quite catch on. So I think there will be a day for the Muppets again. And I still think there's a place for Muppets in entertainment in general right now. But do I think a Muppets movie right now would do well? I'd go see it, but I'm not quite sure a lot of people would. All right, we only got a few minutes left. Let's keep going here.
This is actually our last tipper right here, the tick. Just when I understood Netflix's bonkers models and metrics, I learned that the show Virgin River has been renewed for its 7th season. This thing is either raking in subscribers or so cheap to make that the cast and crew are paid in Skittles.
I don't even know the show.
Yeah, me either.
I don't even know what the show is. So I have no idea about that. But yeah, listen, that's the thing, right? Like if Netflix can have a show that is dirt cheap to make, and it can keep people happy with spending next to nothing, absolutely. But any show that has even semi-respectable budget, it's tough for Netflix to keep those shows going because they're not bringing in new subscribers unless they are, right? So but this is one I can't really talk about because I don't even know the show myself. All right, guys, we're not going to be able to get to the member questions here because we've run out of time, but that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because it gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel while you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank Jonathan Voico.
All right. See you guys later.
The returning Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. You'll see him again a little bit later in the week. Of course, Chris Carr will be on tomorrow. That will do it for us for now, guys. Thanks so much for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.